Are you ready for Halloween dinner? A lot of you responded to the idea of Halloween pasta. We are going to do a black homemade pasta ravioli stuffed with an orange butternut squash puree. Homemade pasta we're going to learn, butternut squash puree, which we did in last week's video, but we're going to kind of do it again. And it's going to be really good. So here we go. Boom! Did I get you? Kind of scared myself. So what we have here is 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons flour. I'm using 00 flour, but you can also use AP flour. Then we have a strange combination of eggs. We have 3 egg yolks and 1.5 whole eggs. So you might wonder, how does a person get a half of an egg? And what I did was I broke the egg into a measuring cup. I beat it all up really well with a fork, and it's about 2 ounces. And so then I just took 1 ounce, measured 1 ounce out of that, and so that's what's in here. And the reason this is kind of strange numbers is because I'm halving this recipe because I just don't want to make that much. It's too much, and I don't want to be wasteful. So I'll write all this down for you. You can look below the video and you can see it. And then we have, I like to call it squid ink, but it's not really. Most black ink you're going to find like this for eating, cooking purposes is Cuttlefish ink. And we're going to start with, this was 1 little package. This is what the Cuttlefish ink comes in. This is what it looks like. I think you might be able to get it on Amazon or something. Can't you get everything on Amazon? Now, I don't know how many of you have this beautiful KitchenAid. It's totally worth saving up for if you're looking to augment your kitchen with things. It has a special attachment for breads and doughs, which you would use to make pasta. And my girlfriends who are also home chefs, they always say they cheat when they do it this way because they're not making it by hand. But I don't think it's cheating. If you have it, basically you would take these ingredients, you would put it in there, you would stick your dough attachment on, and you would blend it for about 5 minutes in there. It would really get going. Then you would take it out and you would probably finish kneading it by hand for another 3 minutes before you let it rest. But we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it the hard way, the old-fashioned way, because I'm assuming most people don't have fancy equipment. So we're going to try to do it by hand, and we're going to see what happens. I love making pasta by hand, but every time I do it, I think, God, this is really going to work. It usually does, but you just never know. Anyway, you're going to make a sort of a mound with your flour, and you're going to make a little well in the middle of it. And in there, actually, I'm gonna mix this squid ink up in the eggs. I've actually never used the squid ink before, so this is new to me too. But anyway, we have 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then we're going to pour that into our flour mound. Try to mix it around with a fork a little bit. I'll pour a little bit more. And I'm trying to keep it in this mound. If it comes out, it's just going to be more messy, but that's okay. That happens sometimes. Sometimes it's hard to get all of this egg in there without it dumping over everything. Okay, getting the rest of this in here. I'm mixing it with a fork, trying to begin to get this flour in there. Whoops. Now, kind of trying to mix it around. It's sort of starting to come together. Here we go. Yeah, I don't see this being black yet. Okay, then I'm going to take my bench scraper and I'm going to start to kind of push it together. Basically, you're trying to get your dough into a ball that you can then start kneading. So you can see it kind of goes very quickly from feeling like this is never going to all come together to then it does. And I'm actually starting to see how this black might actually blend into all of this. So you kind of fold it over and turn it, fold it over and turn it, fold it over and turn it. You see how it's kind of all starting to come together? Okay, so I feel like this has sort of started to be in a ball a little bit more. So now it just starts kneading. And I'm going to look at the clock because this is something that you want to be doing for 5 to 10 minutes. And it's a good workout. And I'm sort of like, this is a little bit sticky, but I'm going to keep working it. If you end up with too wet of a dough, you can add a teaspoon of flour at a time. And if you end up with too dry of a dough, you can add just a little, just a smidgen, like a couple drops, way under what you might think you would need of water. Now this is interesting. Look at how black this is getting. That's getting pretty black. My hands are for sure black. This could just be my costume. I could be like a rotting baker for Halloween. What's happening now as you're doing this is that you're getting all that gluten to form, and that's what makes good pasta. So this really just goes on. I don't know if you can see the motion that I'm doing. Like you sort of fold it over and then push it out, and then turn it and fold it over and push it out and turn it and fold it over and push it out and turn it. And that's it, which is really when you need the music. We did the mash. We did the monster mash. The monster mash. Do, 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 do. Something about a graveyard. Okay. I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to come back to you when it's done. So, I think this is about finished. I've been at it for, I think, 10 minutes. And I'm having a very good workout, even though I already went to the gym today. What you want at the end, you just want to kind of have it in a nice ball. And we're going to wrap it in plastic, airtight. So we're going to make sure that we get it all covered so that it's totally airtight, no air in there. And then we're going to let it rest, room temperature, for 30 minutes. And that's a really important part of your homemade pasta, letting it rest. If you didn't see last week's video, Fancy Dinner, you might want to check it out. I did a more thorough version of making a butternut squash puree. This time I've already cooked it, so all I'm going to do is put it in the blender. But basically to remind you, I took one large butternut squash. I actually cut all the peel off of all of it, and I cubed it into little pieces this size before I did anything. Then I sprayed a little bit of olive oil on it and some salt and some pepper, and I roasted it in the oven at actually 400 degrees for about an hour, or until it's really soft. See how that just mushes? You want it to just mush because it's going to turn into a puree. I also caramelized one entire onion and about 6 sage leaves, and I sauteed 3 cloves of garlic. So everything going into this puree is already cooked. comes the loud part. Eventually, if you're pushing it around, it will start to turn into a puree. You want this to be thick and you want it to hold its shape. That'll make it stay better in the center of the ravioli. So you don't want it to be runny. That is how much it's holding its shape. And that's what you want. I'm gonna taste that. Oh, that's really good. God, I always say that. It's so horrible. But it is, it's good. Okay, so like I said, every time I'm making pasta from scratch, I always feel like, I don't know if this is gonna work. So I'm gonna do it with you, and I'm gonna hope it's gonna work. I have a hand pasta maker, but if you don't have a machine like this, you can roll out your pasta with a good old-fashioned pastry roller. I don't know, like, isn't that funny when words they just go out of your brain? What? Rolling pin, that's the word. It's a rolling pin. I knew that. Anyway, you can use this. I think I was just thinking about how hard it is to do with this. I have done it before, but it's going to take a lot of muscle and maybe more time, but probably also more rewarding. So you can do it that way. But so we're gonna unwrap this. Now I have my clean work surface here that I have a tiny bit of flour on. I don't want to have too much flour on here because I don't want to have this dry out. But what I want to do, I think I'm going to divide this in half. And I'm going to work with just half of it. And I actually am going to roll this out a little bit. I want it to be kind of a rectangle, I guess. So what you want to do if you have a machine like this is you want to start on the widest setting. You're going to be going through the machine quite a few times. So that's once. Now I'm going to go through it again. Okay, and now I can start to turn it down, make it tighter, one by one. So it's probably going to go through this machine maybe 6 times. So I'm just going to keep making it smaller. You guys asked for Halloween pasta, and so I had to put my creative hat on. Is a witch's hat. This might be the last one. You just want to be able to sort of have this opaqueness to it. You can kind of feel when it's just thin enough. And I think this is going to do it. I know that I'm doing about half, which is going to be right there. So I'm going to cut that. Put that one here. This one I'm going to do more of a rustic shape. So I'm going to make them into just little squares. Looks like I'm going to get 5 out of it. So as I do each one, I'm just going to pick up the 1/2. And you don't want to add too much, but that seems like a full teaspoon seems good. Put that there. And then this goes over the top. And I'm just going to try to press like all the air, press all the air out. And I'm pressing them together. And that way we'll make sure that all the goodies stay inside when they go into the water. It's a little bit labor intensive, and so you can, if this is something that maybe you would want to do for a Halloween dinner party that you're having, you can make these the day before, and you can keep them in the refrigerator, wrapped well in plastic so that they don't dry out, or you can even freeze them. Same thing. Wrapped in plastic, and freeze them. They'll last for a long time, and you don't even have to thaw them. So I actually do this when I have like a free day. I'll make some kind of pasta, ravioli, stuffed with something, and you put them in the freezer, and then when you're hungry, you honestly just throw them frozen and everything right into the salted boiling water for probably like 6 minutes when they're frozen. Make yourself a sauce and you have a wonderful meal. There is our Squid Ink rustic ravioli with the butternut squash puree. All right, get this last one. Getting all the air out between the layers of pasta. So there we go. So I'm going to do the circular ones again. So I've got 1, 4. I'm going to lay this pasta over. I think I can get 1, 2, 3 for sure. And we still have some more dough to work with. So it looks like we can go one more round. Ta-da! Raviolis in silence. So I've got this saute pan on medium heat, and I'm going to put in the butter and the sage leaves and just let it go. When it starts to have sort of a nutty smell, you can smell and you can see that the butter is turning brown. Of course, you don't want to let it burn. That's why you don't want to have it on too high of heat. But you want the sage leaves to be sauteing in the butter. And like I said, it's going to be about 3 to 4 minutes. Whoops, I missed one. Before you start to smell that nutty flavor. It's so good. One of my favorite sauces. I love fried sage. So this is what the sage butter sauce is looking like. I thought I would plate it 2 ways so that you could see it and maybe you can decide what you like best. But we're going to cook all 4 ravioli at the same time. So in goes 1. In goes 2. It is Halloween. In goes 3. I'm a ravioli murderer. And in goes 4. As long as the butter is not getting too dark, you're good to keep this sizzling away. I really like when the sage leaves get like crispy fried. You might want to flip it over just to make sure it's cooking on all sides. They likely, when they're done, will be floating on the top, especially the big long ones. Kind of trying to make sure that all the parts of that pasta are actually getting cooked. It's very exciting. The sage leaves look, yes, like they're crispy. That makes me happy. I have my ravioli on the plate, and now I'm going to put some of my brown butter sauce on there. I'm just going to pour it right over the top. Just sort of drowning it. And then I'm going to take these sage leaves, place them sort of artfully on the plate. I really am liking this. It sort of looks like a meal you would have in a cemetery. Everything looks dead, but it actually is really cool. Now, you could also serve this with Parmesan cheese, so I'm going to sprinkle a little cheese on one of them so you can get the sense of what that would look like. So that is our rough cut ravioli with cheese. And there are our circle ravioli. Isn't that amazing? It looked like dead leaves, but it's going to be so delicious. Here comes the Judgment Day. So I'm going to go right into that ravioli, and we're going to see what it looks like. You can see that it's nice and pretty and orange inside, and a little bite. So I have the black pasta with the orange filling. Nice and orange and black. And there it is. You've got your crispy sage leaf and your black pasta. Well, I want to wish you a happy Halloween. And there might even be time for me to get one more Halloween video in. Maybe something that's not quite as difficult as handmade pasta. With this recipe, I was able to make about 17 raviolis, and I still had a cup of butternut squash puree left over. So if you have people joining you that don't want to eat pasta, you could serve them butternut squash puree. I think this is delicious and fun and spooky. I feel like I would be remiss if I got out of this video without saying, you can stay forever if you want to. Man, I love that movie, Coraline. Go watch that. Happy Halloween.